Hey, welcome on in. It's Tuesday. Yeah, it's a
Tuesday.
Tuesday here on lunch with Claibs and Joe here on Claibs Online. And as you can see, we are finally back on the road, Claibs. You are back in town. Cardinal season is underway. You're not in Florida anymore. So that means we can start going out to Mungenast once a month.
At least.
And we are out here at Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, 850 Homer Adams Parkway in Alton, Illinois. Not only is Jamie back here, but Peter Mungenast also back there. I know you were
talked to him. He's got on this nice Old Warson Country Club shirt, although he said he didn't play there.
Oh, okay.
It's a giveaway.
Yeah. They got Jamie was telling me about next 2 weeks, they already got 2025s coming in here.
Really?
Yeah. They got the 2025. They have the 2025
like.
hybrid Camrys. They said are going to be here at Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota. They have the new Tundras, the new look Tundras out here already, the 24s. So all kinds of there are still cars that are going to be tough to get, the Toyotas that are hard to get. But if you're looking for a truck, looking for the Tundra, or just make an appointment, let them know that you are looking and you're interested in getting those 2025s, that Camry. They're going to have them out here at Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota.
Come out and see what they look like.
Yeah. The hybrids too. That's everybody's all the Toyotas going hybrid now. So they have those coming out here too. So Claibs, you're back home. You've been back home for a week now. Everything you have, I mean, is everything settled? Are you settled in yet?
Because you know what? I unpacked only to repack.
Okay.
So but I don't mind the on and off, because that's better than being on those 3 city trips. Mm-hmm. Which can be just a real grind.
I mean, you were on a 4-city trip just 2 weeks ago.
When you think about, we leave Fort Lauderdale, get into Phoenix, play 2 games there, then leave Phoenix, go to LA, have a day off, then play 4 there, and then head down. We bust down to San Diego, which was fine. And
how many times a year do they not fly?
It depends. Like if we're on the East Coast, one year we took the train.
Right.
And that was, I think if you're on the East Coast, you should take the train compared to the bus because of traffic. But this was the first time we've done the bus down to San Diego, and I didn't have a problem with it. It was fine.
How was it last year? Took the train, went from Philadelphia to New York, and took the train that way. It was great.
That's what we did.
Yeah,
that's what we did one year. Took it from Philadelphia to New York, and we had 3 cars, and it was fine. I enjoyed it.
So they have this week left. Phillies tonight. Phillies last night, tomorrow, and then
on to Arizona to take on the team who's in the World Series. That'd be at the Diamondbacks. And at this time of the year, you're kind of going on reputation compared to real results as far as teams are concerned, because really nobody knows who's any good right now. I mean, we know the Dodgers are good because you look at their lineup. And you expect other teams to be good, but nobody has picked it up and just tried to run away with it yet. And I think that, again, that's one of the reasons why I wait till Flag Day. But I think even in the month of April, because of the inconsistent weather, pitchers not stretched out, and obviously a lot of injuries right now, it's really hard to get some traction. And then that's something a lot of teams are trying to figure out.
I mean, just take you look at the Phillies, for example, right now. They just got to 500 yesterday with the win last night. And I hadn't looked at their schedule until I started looking into any kind of prep for daily cards yesterday, and saw that their record was 4-5 coming in. It's one of those, you kind of look at that and you wonder, because the Cardinals hovering around 500, but you look and you go, okay, why are they this 500 team, this team that you expect to be World Series favorites in the National League, one of the World Series favorites? Why are they not off to a much hotter start?
Question.
And for like in the Cardinals case, you face the Dodgers for four of those games
that'll
already.
Slow down your offense.
Yeah.
But you look around, I think everybody's having a hard time hitting right now. And that doesn't mean the pitchers are dominating. But you look at the Cardinals, who struck out over 100 times. We're not even April 15th. The Dodgers struck out like 125 times. And we used to put a real emphasis on strikeouts and not doing it. But now it's like par for the course. And that doesn't mean the pitching is overpowering. I just don't think the hitters are caught up yet. And when they do, it'll be interesting to see what the pitchers will do with regard to adjustment.
Cardinals will have to face 2 very good pitchers the next 2 days in Zach Wheeler tonight, Aaron Nola tomorrow. So
Wheeler's been good.
Those
Nola
strikeout
so-so.
numbers, those strikeout numbers might be on the rise.
Well, the way they're striking out right now, and it's not just Arenado, it's Gorman, it's Goldschmidt. I mean, you have a lot of strikeouts in that order right now, and it'll balance out. That's normally how it works, but when you look back at spring training, kind of the same result.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of power, a lot of strikeouts, and a lot of youth. And I think that's the other thing you have to take into account. It's good to see Mason Wynn starting to put some hits together. Jordan Walker's still fighting it a little bit, and Victor Scott is still trying to figure out the major leagues. And as I mentioned, you throw in Goldschmidt, Arenado, and Gorman, you're looking at 8 to 9 strikeouts a night, and that's too many.
Nolan Gorman right now, 19 strikeouts, 11 games into the season.
And it was just the opposite in the spring where he had, I believe, 9 walks and 14 strikeouts. And, it's just – he gave away at bat last night. The last strikeout he had, it was almost like he had made up his mind. I'm swinging at it. When the pitcher got it in pitch count, he was already decided. He swung the pitch up here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way he was going to make contact. So what do? Do you sit him? Do you drop him in the order? It'd be different if Goldschmidt and Arenado were hitting. You put them move them up in the order. They're not hitting, so you're kind of in a quandary right now.
And that's the tough part. You talk about sitting a guy that's struggling like Nolan Gorman. Tonight might be a night that you have to sit a guy like Victor Scott too, hitting 070 on the season. At some point, Lars Nootbaar might be back by Arizona, right?
Perhaps.
So when that happens, okay, then you can definitely sit him. But right now,
well, wait a minute, hold on. Why are you sitting him? You sitting him for his offense, his lack of? Because he's your best defender. And for a team that's not scoring a lot, I'd rather have defense.
Would you rather try to kickstart something offensively? Because 070, you might as well have your pitcher hitting at that point.
Well, you know what? If he can catch like Scott can, I would. Because I think, for me, I think Scott's got to start to look to bunt more. And, he's in the air too much.
Mm-hmm.
He was making good contact, but he's not a power hitter. I think I'd be looking to bunt more. I'd be looking to slap the ball a little bit more. And
we saw that. I mean, that's how he
made the ball close.
Yeah, when he got on the tee, the first time he got on base against the Dodgers, he hit a ground ball to Mookie Betts, and you saw how the book's out. Everybody knows how fast he is, and everybody on the infield is trying to get rid of that ball as fast as possible, because if you hit a routine ground ball to the shortstop, he can beat that out.
Right. You're right. I think he's just got to take a different approach. And here's the other thing. Just because Nootbaar is going to be back doesn't make him effective. Because I look at him, I see a promising player, but I see a player I haven't seen enough of to say, what is he? Who is he? Is he a guy that's going to hit for average? Is he an on-base guy? I mean, we haven't seen a big enough size, because every time you think you know what you're looking at, he gets hurt.
Yeah. And the rest of the bench too. Matt Carpenter, I mean, will we see him play the field at all with the Cardinals?
Yeah, I do.
I guess spelling Goldschmidt at first.
Yeah. And by the way, when he played in the spring, he played pretty good first base. He's not Goldschmidt, who, by the way, would be a great receiver in the NFL, the way he can drag his feet.
The play he made last night.
He made 2 of them like that.
The play.
But he's been doing
who
that
was the
all
pitcher?
year.
Was it when Libator was pitching?
Yes.
Last night.
Yeah. But there was one earlier in the game too. But the thing about him, his defense right now, not just those 2 plays he made last night, but just how he's positioning himself this year is almost the Gold Glover that we've seen before. Yeah. Now, obviously, we're talking about the first 2 weeks of the season. But, man, you can see that he's seeing the ball well, not just coming off the bat, but from how his fielders are throwing. And I haven't had a chance to ask him since he's had a chance to catch a few more Mason Wynn's throws. But Mason Wynn's throws are always letter high, man. And that's something that every first baseman appreciates. Now, it gets on you a lot quicker. Yeah. But I'm anxious to talk to him about – hopefully I'll talk to him today about that subject again. We did it during spring training. He talked about different guys with different balls and how they throw them. I'm anxious to see what he's seeing now in Mason Wynn.
You can find that on our spring training page at claibsonline.com. Also, if you go to YouTube, it's there as well. Look for the Paul Goldschmidt defensive kind of
so you
sit down
first
with him. Yeah. So you can find that on you can find that Claibs Online on YouTube. Claibsonline.com is where that is. This is the lunch show powered by Gray Bar, driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura, Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, also brought to you by our friends over at Fast Eddie's and the Missouri Athletic Club. Claibs, want to continue the baseball discussion because it has it's kind of come up a lot this week. We saw over the weekend, who was it? Shane Bieber is going to have Tommy John surgery. Spencer Strider is getting evaluated.
He's done.
I mean, if you're at that point, it's
even
coming.
if they
it's coming at
you
some
down,
point. Yeah,
Garrett Cole shut down today.
Garrett Cole's at 2 months. Yeah. I'm not sure when he's going to be. Was the Astros? Was it Framber Valdez?
They shut him down last night? Strained elbow.
Mm-hmm.
We this is an annual conversation we're having.
It's right now, the number is 133 pitchers on the injured list right now, 162 players overall, 133 of them are pitchers.
I'm not buying the whole pitch clock thing, first of all. I know the players, and it's interesting, when in spring training, Tony Clark, the executive director for the Players Association, talked about them amassing enough data. They have a real firm definition of what they have to deal with. I don't think you can amass it that quick. I think it's a 2-year process minimum, even though you reduce the pitch clock by 2 seconds. And even Miles Michael said, what's the difference? 2 seconds is not the reason why people get hurt. But we have this annual conversation. Here are the 2 annual conversations we have in baseball. Why aren't there more minorities, and what's wrong with the pitchers? With regard to the pitchers, I think that we got to start this at a lower level. This is the level you're on. You're teaching kids and coaching kids. We have become so enamored with velocity that if we don't do something now, we won't have any pitchers by the time they're of age, because A, they would have had not too many surgeries, and B, they would be burnt out, and 3, they wouldn't be effective.
Yeah.
On the big league side, the owners don't really care. They're going to pay these guys whatever it takes to get as much of them out of them as they can, and then they'll move on to somebody else. And somewhere, someplace, there's got to be a uniform directive on how we deal with people who play this game and play that particular position. I don't know if you can do it, because I think people on the lower level have a different objective than we have at the higher levels. At the different objectives on your level, you're trying to teach.
Yeah.
The level above you, he's trying to win, because he's trying to push his kids to be exposed, to get a scholarship or be drafted. And in that lane there, and that's where evaluations come into play, where how hard is a guy your kid's age supposed to throw?
I mean, there's some that are throwing 70s.
See, that's the problem right there, because you know that.
Right.
Because somebody's putting a gun on somebody, and that's the problem. That's what we're measuring.
And the funny thing, I'm not the one putting the gun on him.
Yeah,
either.
but you know what I'm talking about, though, where people.
I don't care how hard you throw strikes. I'm happy with it. That's you throw it in there. Don't care.
Yeah.
As long as you're not walking
but there's
people,
not enough
that's fine.
people like that.
Yeah.
Because you're right. The walking thing drives all of us crazy.
Yeah.
Whether it's at little league level or big league level. But we have to do something, because the next generation, and I'm talking about the next generation, not 10 or 20 years. I'm talking about 3 years from now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 5 years from now. We will have a depleted group, and then that's when they're talking about expansion.
Yeah. And
there won't be enough pitching to go around.
There's it's not the leagues. I mean, right now at the level that I'm at, in some cases it's parents that are doing
you're
that.
right.
And that's like I had a 13-year-old in the fall who he threw 9 pitches, and he told me, like, in that season, I thought he was going to be my best pitcher. Threw 9 pitches, shoulder hurt. I sent him to Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick shut him down the rest of the year. Talked to the mom in March. She said he pitched again. His arm started hurting. I said, okay, you know what? He doesn't need to be a pitcher then.
Yeah.
Just, he's a good enough hitter. He can play other positions. I go, he's still going to be good. He's still going to get to play. He doesn't you don't have to pitch. These are parents that understand that, and they get that, but it's like, you know what? Hey, 5 years from now, if he still throws really hard,
anyway,
it's that's if
here's what they should do.
You get to it, hey, he'll be fine then.
Here's what they should do, and I know that there's some leagues that have mandatory seminars for parents to attend when it comes to behavior. I think before your kid can play, you have to either do an online seminar or you have to attend where this subject is covered.
Yeah.
Along with the parent conduct and all, but you have to cover this subject of preparing kids physically because they're not fully developed.
Yeah. My son's league, summer league, they just sent out an email so my son's 10, so the 10U limit now that's 60 pitches a day. And there will be coaches that will so that means 60 today, 60 tomorrow, or 62 days from now. I'm not giving them rest. But up until this year, there was no pitch limit on how many they could throw in a game. And I'm thrilled that they put that in because there are people out there. I mean, it shocks me at the 10-year-old level when I'm out there talking to other coaches how little they know about the rules. Just simple, basic rules of baseball. And I'm like, you're out here coaching 10, 11, 12-year-olds how to play the game the right way. Like, that's what we should be doing is teaching them how to play the right game. And
they don't. And the reason is because they didn't play it the right way. So, again, I think it's got to start at the lower level. And as you mentioned, start with parents. But here's the other question I would ask you because you're involved in this. Why do we circle certain numbers as a cutoff? And I go to the big league, why you throw 100 pitches?
Right.
Well, I mean, I've seen guys throw 100 pitches with ease. And the only reason why he comes out of the game is, you threw 100 pitches.
Right.
I've seen guys grunt on 75 or 80, and they leave them in.
And it's just so most of the time it's a magic number. Yeah, it is. It's a magic number that you just kind of look at. Right.
Okay.
I don't think there is.
I haven't heard of
no, I would 100% agree with you on that there's some. I mean, you look back. I mean, Nolan Ryan was throwing 100 miles an hour 40 years ago when he threw. I mean, how much? I mean, never had any kind of arm problems. Never. I mean, just for forever. And now you get guys just getting hurt all the time.
I think that there's some guys who are naturally gifted to do it. I think mechanics has something to do with it too. I think also it's have luck. People now who want to throw a half dozen pitches for strikes. And I just don't think a guy's arm and shoulder can adapt to throwing a sweeper here compared to a cutter there or a slider there or a curveball. I mean, that's a lot. And when you look, and maybe it's an unfair assessment, when you look at Hall of Famers, most Hall of Fame pitchers had maybe 2 pitches, 3 at the most.
Yeah.
They didn't have all these pitches that we see, like with a Hugh Darvish and some other guys. They just say, hey, man, I got 3 pitches, man. And I only throw 2 of them most of the time. But I can spot it here, I can spot it there. And it's more about their location than it is their velocity. And maybe there's a pitch limit on that. But then the hitter would say, well, I can eliminate looking for this and looking for that. So, you know what, this thing can go on and on. And it's interesting. Ali and I had a very, I'd say, spirited conversation about this whole subject on Sunday. He looks at it a little differently than I do because he's trying to win ball games. He's trying to get the maximum out of his players. But from a development standpoint, where you're at, and many of our viewers, it's a different subject. It's a different approach that we got to get our arms around, and we better do it sooner because these numbers we're seeing now with guys getting hurt, they'll double that.
I mean, the pitch count's nice to have at the level that I'm doing, but I tell you what, we start playing games this weekend, and one of our rules, you walk 2 in a row, 3 in a row, you're done. Yep. All right. Hey, that's it for today. We'll try you again next time. See if you can figure it out.
That's not a bad rule.
No.
Because first of all, I don't have that kind of time to stand out here and watch you walk everybody.
We played a scrimmage game a few weeks ago, Claibs. My 10-year-olds love them to death, but they walked 17 guys.
Oh, I'd have been home by then.
It just gets to the point. You just kind of looked at the other dads sitting there on the bench, and you just go,
somebody pick you up because I can't stay here.
That's where you just got to throw your hands up and you go, F it. You know what? It's one of those days.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Hey,
I have a hard time dealing with it before they had the pitch clock in the major leagues.
This is lunch with Claibs and Joe. We're powered by Gray Bar and driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura and Claibs. We are here in Alton, Illinois at Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota. Alton, Illinois, also the home of Fast Eddie's.
Yes, it is. Right down the road here. Peel and Eat Shrimp, Fast Eddie Burger. It's really a place now you convene for sporting events, or just it's a great lunch spot. It's a good Friday night date spot. They have live entertainment, and there's always somebody there you're going to know. And if you don't know them, you'll know them before the night's over with, because it's a very friendly atmosphere. You're always welcome. The only thing they ask is you to be over 21. Then the coldest beer in town, the Peel and Eat Shrimp. I know they have some other outfits in that neck of the woods who think they're Fast Eddie. They're just a little slower than everybody else. So just remember Fast Eddie's Bon Air at the foot of the bridge. When you cross the bridge coming over in Alton, Illinois, you can go right down the road. They have a dispensary there for you as well. So there's a little bit of everything for you at Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
More baseball discussion coming your way later on this afternoon around 2:30. Rammer and I will bring you Daily Cards live. Hopefully have the lineups by then.
Had a little curveball thrown yesterday with the lineups. There were two different lineups out.
Yeah.
And they wanted to give Contreras one more day of rest for that left hand, but the wrong lineup was initially submitted, and that created a stir.
How does that work? Is it that Descalso that's submitting the lineup?
No,
is that
I can't divulge who's responsible.
Okay. They give it to you first, and you turn.
Oh,
okay.
No, they give it to the bettors first.
Okay.
Vegas gets the lineup before it goes out.
Yeah.
And it was the wrong lineup.
Okay. Are we expecting Contreras tonight?
The hope was he'd give one more night off before we bat. We got to have his bat in the lineup, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't take Herrera's out of the lineup though either.
So maybe Herrera.
Burleson left, Donovan at second to give Gorman the day off today.
That's a good idea. And
then DH Herrera or Contreras.
Yeah, I think it depends on how he's swinging the bat on whether you catch him or not.
How much? And this is something Rammer and I can get into later, but I'm going to ask you because you were there for the whole thing. How much did Herrera catch Sonny Gray in spring training?
As much as he could.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not. As I said to him the other day, I said, you and Contreras caught everybody and everything with the exception of Kobe.
Yeah.
I mean, normally in the bullpens, it's one of the fourth or fifth string guys. But no, Contreras and Herrera made it their business.
Okay.
And they wanted to. And Sonny Gray's an interesting guy about his approach. As you learn firsthand. Yeah. And then when I watched him, he would tell the catcher, this is what I'm going to do here. This is what I'm going to do there. So I think either one of them would be sufficient behind the plate. Now, obviously, Contreras throws better. But I like the way Herrera's handled the staff so far. All
right. Hey, let's take a break. Come back. We're going to talk some college hoops. There's a lot to get to in college hoops, a lot more than just that national championship game last night.
Next person who comes in here and takes a look around, we have some tickets for tonight.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, this is Lunch with Claibs and Joe.
Are you ready for a challenging and rewarding career? There are quality jobs in the construction industry.
I got out of college and my career choices were very limited, and this provided me with a plan for the present and the future at the same time.
I actually have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I was making less than I make as a first-year apprentice painter.
I didn't go to college. I have no college debt. I make more money than the majority of people I know that went to college.
Take your first step towards a rewarding career. Visit stlouispdf.org.
Hey, we're back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on Claibs Online, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, and that's where we are today at 850 Homer Adams Parkway in Alton, Illinois. Come on out and see all of the new Tundras they have available and all of the 2024s they have out here.
Here's the other thing I want to remind people of. When you come out, you can look at the lot and say, I don't see what I'm looking for. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean they don't have it or they can't get it. A lot of people order online, or a lot of people have an idea of what they want, and they just come in and pick it up. Hence the reason why you don't see as many cars, but that doesn't mean they don't have them. So I want to make sure people are very clear on that when they come out to this fine establishment. And I mean, they got a huge selection. They have a bigger selection than a lot of dealerships around town. But just come on out, check it out. And if you don't see it, ask for it, and I bet they can get it for you.
They also got the service department over here too. If you need any work done, these
cars are so good. They don't really have a lot of service.
Well, I'm leaving mine here today to get work done. It is not a Toyota. I will say that. Okay. It's a different model, different brand, but I am leaving that here today, and I'm going to drive one of the Toyota rentals back home.
Which we've done before.
Yes, we have put many miles on those.
All right, what's next?
We got college basketball to talk about. Where do you want to start with college basketball? Because we had a national championship game last night. We had one Sunday, and we had some pretty big coaching news. I will start with the women's though, because that's been impressive. What the women have done, and what Caitlin Clark and what South Carolina and what UConn, what they have done for women's basketball this season and the past few seasons. LSU, we could throw them into the mix with that. 18.7 million people watched the game on Sunday afternoon. Claibs, I didn't realize the game was being played Sunday afternoon. I knew the game was on Sunday. I thought it was prime time. I thought I was going to have one TV on WrestleMania and one on the women's game on Sunday night. Next thing I know, I look at Twitter and I see Caitlin Clark has scored 18 in the first. Yeah,
it was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't think that ESPN, ABC promoted it enough, but obviously they did enough to have 18 million people watch. But
they could have had over 20.
You know, the thing is, and I think the official Nielsen numbers come out today, so it may be 20.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the best players had a chance to shine. There was no team that backed into the tournament as far as the Final Four was concerned. All those were credible programs. And I think it says that there are more and more better players on the women's side, first of all. And the coaching is much better. I mean, you know, Gino's won this thing more than anybody else. And here he is again with a team that they were down to 8 players at one point this year. And they didn't think that they were going to have enough, but they found themselves in it. The Iowa story is a great story. I don't think we'll ever hear from them again. You look at South Carolina, I think they're going to be around for a while. I think the X Factor program is LSU because they've already lost a couple of people, one to the portal, another decides to turn pro. But the Kim Mulkey thing has become so polarizing that you have to wonder, is that sort of style, is that sort of coaching going to hold up in today's world? And you got to think about the surroundings. I think they may have a little bit of an issue. Now, I'm not saying they can't get back, but they're going to have a different road to hoe than maybe South Carolina and UConn, who have been traditional as far as being able to get back in it.
You know, something with you talk about Iowa, we might never hear from them again. Having a player the caliber of Caitlin Clark really does kind of open up that program and kind of showcase a program like that. I mean, they have a girl from Edwardsville on their team, so that it shows how big they're recruiting, how far they recruit. So if you see that and you say, you know what, that Caitlin Clark, once in a generation type player,
she put them on the map. But I don't know if it's not a. Well, their coach has done a good job in the Big Ten. But my point being, the Big Ten is going to get better, and they lose a lot of players.
Right.
So that's the reason why I don't think you're going to hear from them for a while. Now, can they find another one like her? I don't know. But I think that when you look at the big picture of how good they were, they did have a magical season that they developed. Everything they did wasn't luck. Okay, they didn't back into anything. They played the best teams and they beat the best teams. But I think when you have that perfect storm, when it stops raining, what do you have? And I think they're going to have a harder time trying to rebuild than a South Carolina or a UConn or LSU, who have been traditional national powers.
You had the men's game last night, Claibs.
No surprise.
And UConn wins that one 75-60. And that was the matchup everybody wanted to see. And
I think if Hurley really wanted to, he could have turned it into a bigger boat race. Because they were that deep, and they just outmanned Iowa. And, you know, kudos to Matt Painter and what he was able to do. The question now, I think, for all programs is how quickly can you get back to that game? Because the portal allows you to do some things. And one of the things it allows you to do is raise more money to be able to go out and pay for players.
Yeah.
And so I'll be anxious to see what Purdue does from this point on. UConn, because of its tradition, they won't have as much of a problem. Houston, I think, is a team that you better continue to pay attention to. And Duke, I think Duke's back, man. I think Duke made some real progress this year. And Hubert Davis is going to have to keep his game up as well. You know, we learned a lot about the ACC this year. I didn't think they were that good, to be honest with you, but they found a way to make themselves relevant beyond Duke and North Carolina. I mean, you have Clemson, you had NC State, teams that found themselves in it also. So what the portal has done and the NIL has broadened, it's a national event again.
Yeah.
And you can pluck a guy from here, take a guy from here, buy a guy from there, and all of a sudden you're back in it. I always say this, buyer beware, because a guy goes in the portal for two reasons. One, he's not happy with where he's at, and two, he wants to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
If it's money that's going to be more important than playing, then I got to be concerned on what kind of guy am I having to coach up.
You will. We're going to see a lot of changes probably coming here in the next few weeks because of what happened on Sunday nights. The big breaking news that that thing spread fast from the time where
I never saw it coming.
From the time of, hey, Coach Cal's talking to Arkansas, and people go, what, Arkansas?
Yeah.
Like from Kentucky basketball?
But when
and
you
then
think
to,
about all the
he's got to inform Kentucky. Kentucky said he hasn't informed him. Next tweet out. The way when those stories, how fast they break, I would love to know real time how things are actually going down in some of those, because within about a half an hour, it went from a rumor to him signing a 5-year deal.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different ways that could have been done. You get the impression that Kentucky probably seen the writing on the wall where this wasn't going to go any farther. So this isn't Calipari sitting in a room from somebody from Arkansas. This is his agent talking to somebody else. Probably not. They probably meet in another city, in an airport or whatever. I mean, you want to be as covert as you can be, but it only takes one person to spill the beans for somebody to get the scent. And then as you mentioned, the thing just unfolded so quickly. I don't know if this is the best move for Arkansas. I mean, Calipari probably was the master of the one and done, but he couldn't control the portal. And, he had all the resources at Kentucky. They just couldn't. When you lose to two teams most people couldn't find on a map, that's your first problem. And secondly,
Bill Self had that issue for a few years too in Kansas, and he seems to have fixed things.
I think Bill Self did it in a different manner, because Calipari would always find himself going one sentence further than what he should have.
Yeah.
And I think that the expectations at Kentucky are as great as they are at Kansas, but I think it's more of an aggressive nature compared to Kansas, where we wouldn't even think of Kansas if we went for basketball.
Right.
I mean, we could go 49 states and nobody really missed Kansas other than basketball. Kentucky's a little bit of a different story, but when you look at the big picture, you say to yourself, I think Calipari's demeanor was one of the reasons why things started to unravel at Kentucky more than a Bill Self, who kind of stays under the radar. I think about this. You think had Calipari said, I was, as we were getting our asses kicked, I was thinking about next year already. Well, he said it even before the tournament, how he was thinking about next year's team, because he realized this team had gone as far as they. Do you think if Calipari would have said that after losing, what the reaction would have been? The moving van would have been at his house, if there was still a house left, because they may have burned it to the ground.
By the way, they did. I don't know if you saw the video of Calipari yesterday. Reporter walking his dog in a stroller.
He's lucky to have a dog.
Well, in a stroller too. Is that how you walk Maya?
It's not a chance in hell. You carry your own weight. I've seen people do that. So unless your dog is injured or something, I get it. But I know people who actually have a stroller for their dog. So really, you're not walking the dog. You're walking yourself with the assistance of pushing it.
The dog's just with you. It's along for the ride. So they're saying he's going to have access to all kinds of NIL money at Arkansas to bring in the best of the best.
I'll go back to this again. The best of what? Because, a player leaves a program because either he's not happy with playing time or he wants more money. So why is he not happy with playing time? Is he not good enough to earn more, or is he not working hard enough to get more? I mean, so there you have to think about the character side of this whole thing, because we're going to have a bunch of mercenaries. If we don't already have mercenaries who are just going to go where the check is.
So how does this, Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Columbia, Missouri. Geographically,
It makes the game.
Does
rivalry.
Does Gates have anything to worry about with any of his guys? Because he has a great recruiting class. Next year is supposed to be Mizzou's big year, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point you make. I think every coach has to look over his shoulder. I don't think it's just Dennis Gates. I think because the portal is so broad, when you look at some of these programs and some of the players that have come in from all points around the country, I don't even think it's a regional thing anymore where you can go in this guy's backyard in Columbia, Missouri. I think if you got a good player and if he's in, Anchorage, Alaska, you're gonna find a way to go get him.
Who does Kentucky target for their next head coach?
That's a $64,000 question because they want to make a splash. I was talking to my good friend Frank Cusimano, who was quietly advocating.
He said Rick Pitino. Yeah, okay. I knew that was coming. Haven't had a chance to listen to the press box this week, but could have.
He and I were talking about it yesterday, and I'm saying to myself, can Pitino keep up now? Because a guy like Pitino only had to worry about his players because he was going to coach them up. Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So, to me, I think the guys who have junior college experience from a coaching standpoint, those are the most likely candidates because they have made their business to know, hey, I'm only going to have this guy for so long. So I better give him the basics of coaching because he's not going to be here in 3 years.
Yeah.
Whether he's turning pro or transferring somewhere else.
Thoughts on the Sluice hire before we move off of college basketball?
You know what? I'm going to meet him tonight. I've heard nothing but interesting things about him. If you learn about his background, I don't know if you know that he was a very good tennis player at one point. Went to voluntary school down in Florida.
Okay.
Decided he was burnt out, and he and his father went opposite directions.
Okay.
And there's some other interesting elements to him that I'm anxious to talk to him about.
He throwing out the first pitch tonight?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And I think we're going to have him on the 5th inning. And you'll be reading a story about him in Town and Style magazine in the very near future as well. But, it sounded like he was a guy they had targeted from day one because we didn't hear about any other names really. So I always remind people that while the Missouri Valley is a nice mid-major conference, maybe better than the Atlantic 10, we need to think bigger than that. As fans, because I think the Atlantic 10 is kind of a joke anyway. For St. Louis U now, if you live on the East Coast, it's perfect.
If you live on the Atlantic,
yeah, right. But I just think that we have been in this league for 10, 12 years now, and there's no rivalries.
Right.
We try and put our arm around Dayton, and Dayton pushes us off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember when Dayton was a national power.
Right.
You had to go back to Don Donaher and Roosevelt Chapman and that bunch, and that's 30 years ago minimum. So the second thing Chris May should have done is said, hey, we're getting out of this conference.
Yeah. And they had a chance a few years ago and it didn't happen. When everybody else was jumping conferences, that's when it should have happened.
You know why?
And now
because
it's slowed down for
wanted
a bit.
them.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You got to have it be attractive as well.
This is Lunch with Claibs and Joe. We are out at Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, 850 Homer Adams Parkway. We're also Claibs sponsored by the Missouri Athletic Club.
Missouri Athletic Club, 2 locations, perhaps 3 on the way. And I want to make sure people understand Missouri Athletic Club is for everyone. It's for families. It's for significance. It's for you. It's for the businessmen. It's for people who just want to have a place to go to work out, have dinners, do other things. It also is a hotel. So, and I'll give you a good example. I know some people who came in for the home opener and thought it was a better idea to stay at the MAC than staying in some of the other hotels downtown, along with the fact that it's great for kids. The summer camps that they have are just tremendous in virtually everything. But what I would suggest is check them out online or go down and take a tour, and you'll see why so many people have found the Missouri Athletic Club to be to their liking, including golf around the area. And let them tell you about that. And once you hear about that, you'd be looking to say, where do I sign up? It's the Missouri Athletic Club. Check them out online. And once you do, I think you'll be happier and more surprised than you thought you would be.
Speaking of golf, we're going to talk a little Masters when we come back. This is Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, Mungenast St. Louis Acura here on Claibs Online.
Let me get this straight.
Graybar is a distributor?
Yep. For more than 150 years, we supported electrical and datacom projects all over the country.
So you can get me products wherever and whenever I need them?
Yep. Thanks to our expansive national logistics network.
For any industry?
Yep. From construction sites and industrial plants to schools, hospitals, and just about everything in between.
So you could say Graybar is much more than a distributor.
Yep, you could say that.
They really do it all.
Yep. When you need a hand powering, connecting, or maintaining your operations, join the thousands of professionals who rely on Graybar to help keep them up and running. Yep, Graybar does that.
We are back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe. Final few minutes of the show, and Claibs, it's Masters Week down in Augusta, and it seems later than usual. Seems like it's not as
later than usual. The Final Four seems later than usual, but this year's
Final
Masters.
Four, really? You think so for the Final Four?
I think it was a week later.
Was it? Well, Easter was early this year. Easter was in March, so that's
the Masters. I don't know what to think of golf anymore because I don't know who the best players are because the best players aren't playing against the best players anymore. You have the two different tours. Players are a little disgruntled because the ones that took the money says, yeah, this isn't as much fun as I thought it would be. And the ones who decided to stay with the PGA Tour, we just don't know enough about. Even though the PGA's tried to fatten the pot, there's still a huge gap between the PGA and LIV. And the Masters used to pride itself on having the best players in the world participate, but that's not going to happen. And we're going to have a lot of guys who we've never heard of or haven't heard a lot about that are going to be participating, and a few of those guys are going to make the cut. The Tiger era is winding down, and the mistake that they made here is they don't have a real plan about the post-Tiger era. And granted, some will tell you the post-Tiger era has been underway for some time, but we still haven't been able to find those golfers, be it a half a dozen guys, who really make you want to pay attention to the scores on Saturday going into Sunday. How they fix this, they're going to have to get in the room, and the players are going to have to settle this somehow. They're contracted out as far as LIV is concerned, but they've got to figure this out in some way because I tell you, Joe, and I know the numbers say it on TV, I really don't have any interest. It's hard for me to watch the game right now. And you look at the networks, they made some changes on who's doing golf. Not that I really need somebody to tell me what's going on. They just have a closer look to it than I do. But I think golf is in a very tumultuous time in their history. If they don't figure it out, it's going to be passed up by some other sport. And I don't know what sport it is. I know it's not this thing, this football they play on Sunday.
UFL. It's the UFL now, not the XFL. It's the UFL. Yeah.
I knew they changed it, but I saw.
I have no Battlehawk. I have no idea if they won or lost on Sunday. They did. Okay, I have no idea.
So I know that their attendance was higher than the other three games combined.
Oh yeah.
So that's a problem right there. But I don't know what could replace the Masters or the PGA. I'm not going to say the Masters. That's one event. But I just think overall PGA's got some real issues to address, as does LIV, because nobody can find LIV on TV. I know it's on the CW, but who watches the CW with any regularity? So I think that they've got to get in the room and fix it. They better fix it soon. They thought we were going to have a merger between the two. That has not come about yet. But they better have something done before this thing gets out of hand to the point where everybody walks away from it.
Scotty Scheffler plus 450 to win right now. Those are, I think, the best odds ever in the Masters by somebody not named Tiger Woods leading into it. Those are the best.
Well, he's in my opinion, one of the three best golfers I know about.
John Rahm comes in. I just saw his name. I thought I saw it on here. John Rahm plus 1,100. Rory and John Rahm both are plus 1,100 to win the event. Tiger is a plus 14. I'm sorry, plus 140,000. I believe is what. 140 or 14,000 plus 14,000. So if you bet $1 on Tiger to win it, and he wins, you win $141.
Ain't gonna happen.
Ricky Fowler also same odds as Tiger Woods.
They played about the same way.
Yeah.
So
Came out today. Tiger will be playing his round with Jason Day and Max Homa.
two aspiring guys. Day's had some success. Homer's had a little success. But
Homa's a fun follow on social
Yeah.
media. He's a good soundbite. I also think he's a huge Tiger Woods fan. So
we have no idea how he's going to play.
right. He's going to be starstruck for
Yeah,
36
exactly.
holes
Well,
on
no, he
Thursday
won't
and
be there
Friday.
that long. At that rate, they may just ask him to go home. Why don't you wait for him over the clubhouse if you need another autograph?
So it's going to be a big day for Max Homa.
Should be a big day for a lot of those guys at this point.
That's,
All right, so what else we got?
that's all we got. I mean, that's all. I mean, unless you want to talk WrestleMania and all the matches
I was
watched of
gonna
it this
ask you-
weekend.
No,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about it. Give me your thoughts on it. I heard about it. Didn't have a chance. I don't know where you know, so now I was kind of involved with some other activities
Yeah,
on the weekend.
right.
But I'd heard about it.
You didn't have it on in the booth with
No,
on Saturday?
We
No?
don't have pay-per-view.
Oh, it was on Peacock. It's on Peacock.
we don't have that either.
Oh, no, you don't got a Roku TV in there. You just add the app on there.
Once we took out the racing channel, we don't have
I'll have Ben work on that for you guys. On the,
well, I don't know when another event's going to take place.
I mean, there's all kinds of. But I mean, you could use that for anything throughout the. You just need the smart TV up there
I
in the
thought you were
booth.
talking about wrestling.
No, I'm just need the smart TV up there for that. But I will say this: The Rock, for not having wrestled in about 12 years, like doing an actual full match, looked really good. And if you read the story, if you read the story about it, it's pretty. So he had WWE ship him a ring to LA, and he rented out a warehouse for a month. Had 3 wrestlers come and work with him.
How many acting coaches did
and
he have with him?
they had 2 agents with them and a medical staff.
How many acting coaches?
The
did he
agents.
have?
So the agents are the ones that work
The
you
acting
through
coaches,
everything. Yeah, they
the
are.
choreographers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's wrestling term
See,
for choreographer.
You wrestling fans, you guys gotta act like this is like Christmas and Santa Claus.
It was
Easter
yes.
Bunny.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
It's Super Bowl.
when you grow up though, you kind of realize that's all for the kids.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
When Undertaker came out on Sunday and chokeslammed The Rock, that was for me. That was for me. That wasn't That wasn't for Hudson. That was for me. Yeah.
See, I got over this a long time.
It was
ago.
fun, though. I mean, they sold out everything. It is, I believe they said last night was their 17th straight televised sellout of an event. So
I think we've had this discussion before, and this will be our last item. How many wrestlers are making the real money? Because when I look at the other sports, I look at PGA, we talked about that. Top 125 money winners, which now somewhere almost $1 million you got to win in order to be on the tour.
Yeah.
What's that like for wrestlers? How many bona fide guys other than The Rock and the ones we know from a household name standpoint? What about that next tier? What kind of money are they making?
I would say that there are quite a few in WWE right now making over $1 million plus a year.
So
and
quite
main
a few
event,
is
20.
20? Okay.
I would say if you look at that, men and women both.
How many-
The women. I mean, there are
So
more
how
than a
many
handful
wrestlers
of women
do you think are on the tour itself?
on the. What do you mean, like out?
So when they have a
performing?
card,
Yeah.
when they have a card, how many people are under the umbrella of the WWE?
If it's an AEW show, they're trying to get 40 people on the show. If it's a WWE
Well, how
outside
many
of
people are within the
WWE,
umbrella, though? I mean, so WWE.
they have probably 100 guys on their
Okay,
roster.
all right.
They're putting maybe 15 to 20 on a regular pay-per-view.
Gotcha.
The next pay-per-view they have is in May. It's in France.
They'll rotate a few
And
names.
yeah, they will put 4 or 5 matches on that card.
So
that they
if
know
I'm number 98 of this 100, how do I elevate myself?
You got to find a good character that people are going to attach themselves to and make yourself
good
into
acting
a star.
coach.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, make yourself a star, self-made. You got to be able to draw people
Well, I tell you,
in.
it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to like them if they want to elevate the game.
Whatever I can do to help.
You and John Marisek together, they get your stamp of approval. Who knows how far they can go out the door.
All right. Hey, I'll maybe see you down at the ballpark tonight. Gonna head down to
Well, I
Busch
know
for
where I'll
the
be.
first time. I know where you'll be too. And I know where I'll be sitting to start the game. Probably not gonna head over to section 131 and get that new Slinger dog. Have you seen that in person yet?
No, Chip Carey wore the hat
Oh, okay.
You know, he got a hat.
Yeah.
He wore that. He and Brad wore that.
You want me to bring you one up
No,
around
I'm
like
good.
the fourth inning or so?
You know what,
okay.
man, I'm very conscious of my diet when I get to the ball
Yeah.
these days. You can put on 10, 15 pounds if you don't watch it.
Oh, easily.
Because
Absolutely.
everything that they serve is like 800 calories minimum. So
Yeah.
I'm very conscious of that.
Yeah.
But you have at it.
I don't think I'm going to try that. Nope. Not that. Looking at that, like a lot of those things individually, not all together. So we'll probably stay away from that one. Until then, hey, if you missed any of the show today, you can find it later up on the Claibs Online, wherever you find your podcast. We want to thank Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota for having us out here today. Until next time, well, until 2:30, that's when I'll talk to you next with Bob Ramsey. But he is Mike Claiborne. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura, Mungenast Burkard Alton Toyota, here on Claibs Online.
Gotta stay up, way up. It's cut a dub on a rematch. First time won't relax. It's the beginning, we just got started. It's the beginning, we just got started. It's the beginning, we just got. It's the beginning, we just got. It's the beginning, we just got started.